Let us bring in the author of a brand new book. It's called Get Trump, Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, and the author of the upcoming book, Trial of the Century, Fox's legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Professor, there is a passion for this to happen on the left, but you argue, rightfully so, this is against the Constitution of our country.
I have never seen a case in my 60 years of practice which has so many holes in it. Start with the statute of limitations. It's 7 years before he committed the crime. The New York State statute says the only exception for that is if his whereabouts were unknown. I have to tell you, even Bragg could have found him. He was in the White House. He's the easiest. And he was outside New York. Well, there are photographs of him at his house on the street. He was not continuously out of New York. I don't see how you can twist and turn to make the statute of limitations disappear. And then you have all the other. How many holes are there? Shall I count the ways, to count the quote the poet? I have never seen a weaker case. And in the end, I really do think Bragg is worried about his own bar card. I think he's worried that if he brings this case and he uses a witness who he has to know is lying, there are going to be investigations of him, and there should be investigations. He holds an office that was held by Bob Morgenthau, Frank Hogan, some of the great prosecutors in history, and he is disgracing that office by bringing this case. So I hope he comes to his senses, doesn't bring this case. In my book, Get Trump, I named the book. I didn't make up the name. The name was made up by Letitia James and by Bragg. They were the ones who campaigned on the promise of Get Trump.
That's not justice, is it, Professor? It's not justice. Gregg, let me bring you in, and I'm asking you to speculate on this, but the grand jury not showing up today, why did that happen? And reports of chaos in Bragg's office, I believe they probably are true. That's my guess. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think it is true. And, of course, the mainstream media, which spent the last several days salivating over an imminent Trump indictment, today was crestfallen when they found out, wait a minute, all of a sudden the grand jury proceedings have come to a halt. I think a couple of things are happening here, Sean. You put your finger on one of them, and that is that there is a revolt in the district attorney's office, dissension in the ranks. Top senior experienced prosecutors are angry about this. They see it for what it is, a politically motivated witch hunt, a convoluted Looney Tunes legal theory that has no merit. Bragg contorted the law, twisted the evidence because he hates Donald Trump. But I think the other thing that is afoot here is the grand jury itself. Alan put his finger on it last night when we were talking about it. I think all of a sudden the grand jurors, after Bob Costello's testimony on Monday, are saying to themselves, wait a minute, are we getting snookered and sandbagged by Alan Bragg? Costello comes in here and says Michael Cohen, who Bragg's relying on, is the biggest liar in the world, a prodigious, inveterate liar who cannot be trusted. And also, I think they were probably taken aback by the fact that Bragg appears to have been hiding hundreds of documents and emails from them. That's exculpatory evidence, and
right.
They have a right to see that. And so it doesn't surprise me, the reports that, he's having trouble convincing now the grand jurors to indict.
All right. John McLaughlin, last question. Predictions. Professor, will they vote to indict Donald Trump? Yes or no?
It would break a record if the grand jury actually revolted and said, we're not going to indict a ham sandwich. We're fighting back. We have seen the evidence. The lawyers now, and we're not going to take orders. We're an independent body, and we have to make our decision. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror.
All right, Professor, and I would break it up a little. Let me go to Gregg. No. Will they indict or not, Gregg? Your prediction.
Well, I think it's unraveling, and I'd say it's about 50-50 right about now.
I think I agree with you. All right, straight ahead. Thank you both.